Welcome back to the Valor Flight Crew podcast, hosted by Echo and brought to you by Vertical Helicast and Vertical Valor magazine. In this episode, we sit down with flight nurse Danica Mainridge, a clinician whose story is as inspiring as it is unforgettable. From her path into critical care to the day everything changed in the aftermath of her company's helicopter crash, Danica takes us inside the split-second decisions, the raw emotions, and the long road of personal recovery that followed. Together, we explore the weight of trauma, the necessity of resilience, and the strength that comes from within. Danica opens up about grief, identity, and what it truly means to care for others while finding healing yourself. Make sure you stay tuned till the end as we share how Danica's courage and dedication earned her the much-deserved Blades of Valor Recognition of Service, Courage, and Flight Award. This is not just a story of survival, it's a story of courage, purpose, and the unbreakable spirit of a flight clinician. Thank you to our sponsors, Technosonic Industries, Spectrum Aeromed, and Precision Aviation Group.
Welcome to the Valor Flight Crew podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts and Vertical Valor magazine. Produced in partnership with Echo, Every Coast Helicopter Operations, the Valor Flight Crew podcast promotes the personnel and life-saving equipment behind helicopter air ambulance services. Join hosts Mike Fideli and Blake Schreider for in-depth interviews and expert insights from air medical personnel, pilots, communication specialists, and maintenance crews who play critical roles in airborne emergency response.
Line 1 accepting.
Copy, Line 1, gotcha, accepting. You're going to be talking to Red Feather 1 on LCEMS.
Welcome back to the Valor Flight Crew podcast. Mike Fideli and Blake Schreider here, and we are your hosts as always. How are you today, Blake?
I'm doing great, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Coming off a 4-day stretch here. Really wasn't too bad of a 4 days, so I'll take it. I'll count my blessings where I can.
I feel you. Actually, I only did 3 and had a day off today, so I did half of nothing today. I don't know if that... Perfect. Busy few weeks coming up, especially with the Echo conference on the horizon. So I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, for sure.
Well, we got a great podcast for you guys today. This is going to be an extremely impactful one. I know listening to the story initially, I was literally getting goosebumps and chills listening to our guest's story today. And it really is just one of those that really, I think, emphasizes how important our job is, emphasizes the training that we go through and the resiliency that we have as providers. And it's one that I really can't wait to share with all of you because I know it's going to be just as impactful.
Absolutely.
Before we get started, I do want to just send a huge shout out to our friends over at MHM Publishing and all the other podcasts on the Vertical Helicast platform. Hangar Z podcast, Helicopter podcast, Real Rescue podcast, and the Vertical MRO. Some awesome friends over there, so make sure you go and check them out as well at verticalhelicast.com. So without further ado, let's introduce our guest for today, Danica Mainridge. How are you?
I'm doing well, guys. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thanks for coming on.
We are so excited to have you today and really appreciate you coming on to share your story. Before we kind of get into the meat and potatoes of everything, I just wanted to see if you don't mind telling us a little bit about yourself, about your flight career, and kind of what made you want to get into this crazy mess.
Oh my gosh. It's a long, crazy, turny road, like I'm sure all of us are. I've been a flight nurse for about 3 years, a little bit over 3 years at this point, and I've been a nurse for about 10. Okay. I never wanted to be a nurse. That was never in the cards for me. Little baby high school Danica was ahead on some credits, and there was a program where you got out of a half day of school if you went into nursing or teaching.
Perfect. Sign me up.
And my whole family are all teachers, and my mom said, "Don't you dare become a teacher." So nursing it was. Got out of my half day of school. Graduated high school with my CNA license. Worked in the nursing home overnights in the Alzheimer's units. Did that for a couple months. That was
in high school and then right out, huh?
Yeah, that was the time.
What an introduction to the healthcare world.
Exactly. Trial by fire for sure. And then I fell in love with it. Honestly, just fell straight in love with it and went on to become a nurse in nursing school. And in nursing school, I was an inpatient tech and inpatient psych. Also love my psych patients. Super, super cool people.
think I told you before, I don't know how you do that. Like that whole therapeutic communication thing in nursing school was like the bane of my existence.
That was my meat and potatoes. That's where I thrived.
There you go.
No, well, good for you. We need people like you out there. That's for sure.
Well, it takes all kinds of kinds.
Right.
That's one heck of a care plan to write for those.
Inpatient psych tech all through nursing school, graduated nursing school, went straight into a kind of small outskirts of the urban ER. Saw lots of urban trauma, overdose, shooting, stabbings, did that for a couple of years. Then made our way to Children's, St. Louis Children's, big, large level 1 pediatric trauma center. Was charged and rapid response team there for about 4 years. And then honestly, I kind of applied to flight as a joke. I didn't think they would ever hire me. Did not feel ready. Did not feel like I was good enough, smart enough, ready for all that good stuff. And they just kept calling me back and said, yeah, we think you're good. We want you. And I have to really vouch for the education I got on the job. The whole training orientation process really brought me right up to speed. And I've been doing that about 3 years now, and I've loved every minute since.
I think since you self-admitted that you love the psychiatric part of nursing, that's automatically a great fit for this industry. We all have to be a little bit on the crazy side, right? But definitely. I think that's so great that the background, and you have a very wide range and exposure that you started off with early in your career. And then coming into this, I mean, that's a great path. I mean, honestly, for not having that in the cards, that sounds like it's really turned out really well so far for you.
It has. I always say that psych kind of like braids its way into everything else. But now I definitely, even though I do critical care and all kinds of cool, fancy flight stuff now, I definitely have a soft spot for my kiddos and my psych patients, for sure.
I certainly give you all the credit in the world for that. We want to certainly talk a little bit more about where you work at now with Arch One and all that. But before we get into that, if you can kind of just discuss with us an impactful experience or call from your career that kind of exemplifies, what you do as a nurse and why you love it so much.
Yeah. That was actually a really hard question for me to kind of reflect back on. It really kind of brought me back to why I fell in love with nursing in the first place. And there was one old LPN back in the nursing home, and she really helped me fall in love with nursing as a profession, regardless of where the versatility of the career takes me. Being a nurse is how I fell in love with the career. And it was back, I was fresh out of high school, little 18-year-old, bushy-eyed, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, the whole 9 yards, ready to go, green as could be.
Very naive to the world.
Naive, had no idea what was going on. But the nurse that I was with did, and she really took me under her wing. And it was the middle of the night, and this Alzheimer's patient really thought that she needed to get ready to go to school. And she really did not know what was going on, but she was determined she had to get ready to go to school. And there was kind of this debate going on between this LPN that I was really good friends with and another nurse. Do they sedate her to get her back to bed? Because she's getting a little combative. She's getting a little angry. She's starting to get a little feisty. And you know how those old ladies get. They get a little sassy sometimes. Oh, yeah.
They get Superman strength when they start getting feisty.
No, those little old lady grips, man, they get you. Well,
every time.
They do. This nurse that I was with was like, let me just help her get ready for school. So I went in with her and we did her hair up. We packed her lunch. And that calmed her down enough that she was able to go back to bed.
That's awesome.
And that really stuck with me of, we don't just put a Band-Aid on the problem. We really treat the person as a person and fix the root of the problem.
Yeah.
And I feel like in critical care medicine, we have all of these fancy tools. We fly ECMO at my base. We do Impellas and Bipellas, and we have all of these tools. And we oftentimes in critical care forget that we're treating a human being.
Right.
This is a human being with human emotions and is quite possibly the very worst day of their lives. And I think it's really important that we're kind and respectful of that.
Man, that just listening to you talk about that, I think anybody listening, we can relate to when you're new in this field and I think we come across kind of both walks of life of someone that's very well seasoned per se in this profession. Right. And so, maybe one person is just so jaded and just like angry and upset, and they've been doing it for so long. And you're like, well, then, why are you still here? But then when you get that other person, like that fellow LPN, where she just was like, no, well, we'll just get her ready for school. And like, when you make that connection, that's what really seals that deal for, the younger generation that's coming in. And Mike, Danica, like being, coming up my 20th year here in EMS, like I'm finding myself, and I think many people find yourself out of nowhere. Now you're that seasoned, older or old person.
Watch
and
it,
I
Blake.
just try to remember those. Listen, man, you still have a heck of a lot more hair than I do. So I just still try to remember where I came from, and just remember that, your place, not only for treating our patients as that human being, and always remembering that's the root of what we do is we're treating another human being. And it could be, like you said, we could be doing ECMO and all these things, or it could be someone that you're just hanging out with and you hold their hand and you just give them some reassurance. And, those are the calls that really, those good moments are those things that you hang on to. And I think that when the younger generation and the people that are new, even into this field, they see that, that's what they remember. And I always try to make sure that I want to be that person. And I think it's so great that that was an impact that you saw. And I'm so glad you had that right out the gate, because, if you're not now, you are definitely, going to be that person for somebody coming up in this field.
Danica, I'm just impressed at how much emotion you've been able to pull out of Blake. I don't think I've seen that on any of the podcasts yet.
Old psych
You got him right in the purse
right in the
strings
feels,
there.
Yeah. Well, when we talk about Alzheimer's, dementia, those obviously have a soft spot. So, and just, I think, Mike, we've been doing how many podcasts now? And if you've noticed, or, and even for our listeners, like one of the main things that ties a lot of these all together is just, there's always some component of that mental health, that true existence on why we do this job. And I think the more that we get to highlight those true impactful things, I think that just kind of really puts it out there for everybody. Like, out of all these great and amazing things, like, you get to still have that impact, and you still get to fly and have a really awesome job. And like, it really does just get to highlight that. And I'm really proud to be part of this with you.
Well, thank you, Blake. Danica, thank you very much for sharing that. I think it's important to kind of, hear or feel a little bit of the, what drives us all, and to know what kind of makes you tick on the inside. And so we appreciate you sharing that story. And I'm sure that that's something that's carried over to every part of your nursing career. Just wanted to kind of jump into where you work now. So you're at Arch, correct?
I am. Yep.
All right. And so you said it's been about 3 years now that you were there, or with Arch. Have you always been at that same base then, or have you worked in a couple different bases within the Arch system?
I've been permanently at 2 different bases. So I started out at our Rolla, Missouri base.
Okay.
And then about a year ago, I transferred to Arch 1 in Granite City. And Arch, for those who don't know, Granite City, it's right near St. Louis.
Okay. And then what kind of mission profiles are you guys flying?
We are kind of the catch-all for a lot of things. We are very spoiled. We have a nice, big, fancy aircraft. And because we have the nice, big, fancy aircraft, we do a lot of specialty flights.
Absolutely. You know how that goes.
Usually what comes with that.
Yep. We do back up the children's and the high-risk OB team. So we help them with their isolate flights. We also back up the OB team. So we'll transport quite a few high-risk OBs. And then we also are the only community-based service in the whole country to fly ECMO without a perfusionist.
That's impressive.
In our company, we do the most mechanical circulatory assist devices out of any base. And we also do the most intubations. We average.
You guys are busy.
Wow. We fly our little beaties off. That is for sure. We average around 60 to 80 flights a month. And last year we flew 702 flights.
Wow.
It's awesome.
Man, it's awesome. That is some volume.
It is. We fly and I feel like it's very helpful, especially coming from a pediatric and psych background. I was very not quite hesitant, but again, kind of that imposter syndrome, self-doubt was creeping in.
Yeah, no kidding.
And while there was a lot of adult cardiac, very sick ICU transfers that they did, and I knew it was going to be a learning curve go in there. And I have to say that I felt very well supported, very well educated.
Awesome.
And just in the year that I've been there, I've grown immensely in sick heart cardiac patients specifically.
Yeah, I'll wholeheartedly say I don't think that imposter syndrome ever goes away.
No,
There's still, like there's always something more that we can learn. And just when you think you're like getting the hang of it, then we decide to change everything, whether it be protocols or new processes or something else is coming down the pike that's the latest and greatest. And it's definitely a constant learning adventure. That's for sure.
Have you heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I feel like the more I learn, the less I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The more I learn, the dumber I get. Because the more I know, the more I know I don't know. And the more I think is out there and the more there is to.
And the more I know I can mess up.
But yeah.
That's probably more likely for me.
Yeah.
And now are you guys flying in a 145? Is that correct?
We are now. So our old airframe, which unfortunately had the accident, was a BK-117. It was from 1985, and she was beloved by many. But now we're in a 145.
Okay. Yeah, definitely plenty of space in there to be doing all those specialty transfers. That's for sure.
Get a bipella ECMO.
Oh, yeah.
Just throw it all in there. See where you can really fit.
I had an ECMO this morning and a bipella last week.
Wow. All right. Keep them busy. If only the charting for those calls was a little bit less,
I'll say I will fly the butt off all day if I don't have to write a chart.
It'd be the best job in the world if I didn't have to write a chart like that. Like, we came, we saw, we conquered, and I'm done with it.
Can we just hire scribes? I mean, we don't need a perfusionist for this. No, but I definitely need someone to document all this for me.
Absolutely.
Sold.
For you, Blake, I think we can make it happen.
I need a bigger aircraft for that.
So now you guys said you're flying your little tails off all the time. You guys get to do a lot of specialty transfers, and you've been there for 3 years now. Do you have any other responsibilities at Arch, or are you strictly frontline? What's your other roles there?
Yeah, so I am frontline. I fly my full-time frontline flight nurse shifts every week. In addition to that, I'm also the base outreach coordinator. So I organize all the events, all the PRs, all the landing zone classes, all the outreach education. I feel it's really important to partner with the community. We're all on the same team caring for these patients. So we want everyone to have the same standard of education. And if we can provide that to the community at no cost, absolutely. We just want to be good partners to the community and to our patients. And then I'm also a clinical preceptor. So a lot of the new hires that come in or seasoned clinicians that need a little refresher, I do their clinical training as well.
I think that's where the imposter syndrome hits the most. You're like, wait, you want me to train somebody to do all of this? Like, I don't even know that I can do all of this.
I'm the teacher now. Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
Well, as if you didn't have enough to have to deal with, not only flying 60 to 80 flights a month. Hey, by the way, Danica, do you mind, can you organize all the PR? Can you schedule a few classes? And, oh, by the way, here's a new employee.
Yes.
Make sure we're getting through that. Wow. You really have quite the load to do there, for sure.
My plate is full.
Yes.
Yep.
Runneth over, as they say.
Never hungry.
Well, you had mentioned your aircraft having an incident back on April 24th. Wanted to kind of touch just a little bit upon what had happened since you were running an LZ class at the time. Is that correct?
I was, yes.
Just wondering if you can just give us kind of a brief synopsis of what had happened back on April 24th and kind of the general overlay of what occurred.
So as that base outreach coordinator, I organize all the landing zone classes. We like to offer landing zone classes to a lot of our local fire departments, some of our EMS services, anything so they can feel more prepared to set up a landing zone for us. There's about a half an hour of in the classroom activity and then about a half an hour of hands-on portion. So that particular day, it was kind of early evening-ish. And I was doing the classroom portion. We go over how to set up a landing zone, what surfaces to look for, how much space we need, all kind of the good talking points to go over. And then the aircraft came in for the practical portion. And for the practical portion, we go over emergency shutdown procedures. If you do help us load a patient, how to help us load, don't walk into the tail rotor, how to be safer on an aircraft, general rules and stuff like that. The local fire department, it went great. They got us a Casey's pizza. Everyone got their pictures in front of the aircraft. It was phenomenal class. It went great. They're all very welcoming to us. The aircraft went to take off from the landing zone class, and there was a tree that the pilot didn't see or didn't remember seeing, and he was about 80 feet up in the air, and the tail rotor contacted the tree.
Oh my God.
I was there, obviously, cleaning up the class and everything. I was there. I watched the whole thing happen. Aircraft was coming up, kind of backed a little bit into the tree. Tail rotor contacted the tree, and then the air crashed, came down on its belly a little bit more onto the left kind of co-pilot side, caught fire pretty quickly. Then I had some things to deal with.
Yeah, no kidding.
Wow.
Thank you to our sponsor, Precision Aviation Group. Mission critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory globally, 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
And again, Danica, like hearing this story and you telling what had happened, and again, this not the point of this podcast is not to rehash, this event, but more so to focus on, how things transpired afterwards, and then how you as a clinician and as a provider and as a friend and a colleague, were able to kind of manage the situation. I just I still get chills hearing you kind of tell this story, and just like, I can't even imagine putting myself in your shoes in that moment. Like it just, I'm in a lot of regards just speechless trying to like even picture what you were going through. And I know that I never will. And I hope that no one ever has to go through that ever again. I guess, when we talk about the event itself, how did you even respond? Like, what was your initial reaction? Like, what do you do when something like that happens right away?
For better or for worse, I can't tell you if this was right or wrong, but I can tell you what I did.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I can't pass judgment, but I actually had an off-duty pilot who was kind of assisting with the class because it was on his way home. We actually noticed the tail rotor going towards the trees before it actually hit. So the off-duty pilot actually started running towards the helicopter before it hit the ground.
Wow.
And I started running before the blade stopped spinning. But yeah, no, he started running. We both kind of had this like sinking gut feeling of like, oh no, this is not right. This is not how that helicopter is supposed to lift off. This is not good. So we both literally, as it hit and crashed, we both started running up. The security camera footage from the fire department was reviewed. Me and the off-duty pilot pulled everyone out of the helicopter within 2 minutes. And the helicopter was fully engulfed in flames within 2 minutes and 15 seconds.
Oh my God. Wow. We can let that sink in for a second.
Yeah. You just go into it's a natural human reaction to, doing the job that we do, and then going through that, and then you see that happening, and like you just go into mode of rescue mode, right? Or just doing it, right? Yeah. There's no thought other than I'm here to help and I'm going to, right? I mean, when you talk about, as we've all done these things, right? If there's ever this incident, we have to wait till things stop spinning and all this, like, no, you're seeing something happen. That's your immediate first initial reaction. So I'm not judging based on that. And I think what you guys did was just insanely heroic. And thank goodness that you did,
Yeah, for sure.
That 15 seconds, There's no doubt you saved some lives that night. And your crew, I hope that they are doing okay today. Absolutely.
Certainly all the thoughts and prayers going out to them, and I hope that their recovery is going well. But I just props to you and the off-duty pilot and your actions and what you did. You guys are just absolutely amazing, and it's such an act of valor and truly incredible. And we appreciate you sharing that with us.
Absolutely. My initial thought was those are 3 people that I love and care about and work with all the time.
It's family.
In this industry, you get so close to each other.
Yeah.
And that's my partner. That's my pilot. That's people I love and care about. And they're getting out of that aircraft one way or the other. They're getting out. And we got them out. Unfortunately, how the aircraft fell, the passenger who was up in the co-pilot seat, the jettison failed. So he was the last one to kind of get pulled out. So the off-duty pilot actually had to rip the door off the hinges. And by that time, his seat was kind of already catching fire. So we had to use the fire extinguisher on there. But we got them all out.
Thankful. Yeah. And the fact that you had time to just go on the autopilot to locate and grab the fire extinguisher and do that. I mean, that's just amazing.
Yeah. Props to all the training and that outreach and always telling everyone else where things are at and what to do in those situations. It just kicked in naturally.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Know your emergency shutdown procedures, please. Know your emergency shutdown procedures.
Oh man.
Yep.
Man. I can't imagine that. And I'm just so grateful that you were there to be able to help these fellow crew members. Because like you said, they're family. And I think that, a lot of us, we respond to emergencies every single day. And we are dealing with other people having the worst day of their lives. But the difference is that we can separate that personal connection and to not be able to do that. I think that certainly changes the dynamics of things, but it certainly in your case did not change the bravery that you had to be able to be there for them in that moment. And we are so incredibly grateful that you did.
Thank you. I'm very sad the situation happened.
100%.
I never wish the situation to happen, but I'm incredibly grateful that I was there.
And so I think, we talk through the incident, and that's obviously not what we're here to necessarily talk about that. But I really want to focus on the aftermath, not for them so much, but how do you even begin to process what just happened? At what point are you able to start to stop and reflect and be what the hell just happened? And how do you start even processing that? Where does that begin?
Yeah, it didn't feel real for a long time. It took quite a long time for it to just sink in as something that actually happened. There was a point where I distinctly remember after we got everyone extricated from the aircraft, we got them at least several yards away. They were all pretty injured and couldn't walk, so we had to kind of drag them a good ways away.
Right.
And then I just went into, we rely on our law of primacy. We go back to what we learned to first.
Yeah.
I started just doing a head to toe quick trauma assessment, started tagging people, started being hey, you're my priority. You're probably fine. Go over there. And the one that was kind of in that front left co-pilot seat, he got it the worst. He was my kind of top priority. The other 2 were sick and injured, but I could kind of give it a little trauma assessment. I started doing IVs, throwing C-collars and pelvic binders, and just focusing on the medical aspect and things that I could control.
Sure.
Things that I can do. What can I do now? I can start an IV. I can put a pelvic binder on. I can get a C-collar. I can't help the helicopter's on fire, but I can get everyone away from it. So I did the things that I can control, and I went very heavily relied on just the MCI training. And then once I realized everyone was okay, everyone is talking to me, everyone is safe away from the crash site. Ryan, the off-duty pilot, came up and hugged me to see that we were both safe. And that was the first time I realized this is really bad, and it just happened.
Yeah.
Someone's checking on my safety, they're worried about me. That's when it kind of first start to sink in of, this actually happened. This was really bad. For just kind of a brief second, it flickered in my brain. And then the nurse that was in that front left co-pilot seat, I ended up going in the ambulance with him to the trauma center. I made sure the other two were trauma-ish packaged and with reliable ground transport and stuff. But he was kind of my highest priority. So I went with the hospital to him. And once he was transferred in the trauma room and I was seeing him get his full trauma assessment, was when I realized, like, I'm passing him off to a higher level of care. I'm not the responsible one anymore. I don't have to manage this whole situation. And that's when the tears came.
No
That's
doubt.
when the breath and the tears. I am a notorious crier. I am the feeler of the base. And that's when the tears came. That's when the hugs started. By that time, calls have started to be made and people were made aware. And there was already kind of a growing crowd of people that I recognized and knew at the hospital. So hugs were coming. I was crying. And that's when it really started in as this is real. And it just happened. And that was probably a good, like, 4 to 5 hours after.
Just that when as you're processing and these things are coming, and then I don't think saying that weight is lifted is, you could describe it as that, but it's like, I can only imagine, like, there's just different levels of that, right? Like maybe some of that weight's lifted, but there's still that other weight of burden is everybody going to be okay? People are still, coming in. You got there with the first patient, the first coworker, the nurse, but you still had 2 more, coming after that. And then as those calls and those texts and everything starts coming in, like, I can't imagine how you process that. Like you said, okay, I got him here to this next level of care, but now what? Like, cause I can only imagine you feel like helpless at that point, right? Your job is done from the medical aspect, but this is my family and friends, and I'm not leaving here. I'm staying here. What else can I do? I can only imagine how that began that process. So over those next few hours, you had said that you were hugging Ryan, the off-duty pilot, and you guys made sure you guys were okay. At that point, when all that stuff, those smaller little bits of weight come off, you guys didn't have any other injuries or anything like that, right? You guys were okay from that point?
This is a point that I laugh about now. Hindsight's very funny. When Ryan came up and hugged me, I pushed him off and I was super mad. I was like, get off me. I have things to do. I have patients to take care of. Don't check on me. I have people to help. Get off me. Don't check on me.
Yeah.
Hindsight, I can laugh about that now, obviously. In the moment, not as funny. But no, it was very much why are you checking on me? I have patients to take care of. Right. And I feel like a lot of people can relate to that. I know previously, and even now I relate to that as, why are people checking on me? I have patients to take care of. I have a job to do. That whole helping the helper is very hard. And I've seen that quite a bit, especially not only at my base, but through the whole industry and with myself, is I neglect myself. I pour from my own cup to care for others because I love caring for others. It's what I do in this job is I help others.
Yeah.
So that's been a recurrent struggle I've had since the accident is people want to check on me. Why do they want to check on me? But I'm here to help. I'm the strong one. I'm the helper. And coming to that term of it's okay for me to not be okay. And I don't have to be the strong one all the time. I don't have to have all my stuff together all the time. That's been a challenge for me.
Well, it's not that you're not strong, all the time. It's just, look at the, how often are we all the worst patients ever ourselves, Mike? Right.
Confirm.
No, I am too, right? We all are, right? It's, I think somebody explained it like that selfless is we just think of ourselves less, we're all very strong, but in those moments where we aren't thinking of ourselves, we're just thinking of ourselves less. But that's where that really shines. Our coworkers, our family, they are the ones that support us through that. And you, just from talking to you for the past 30, 40 minutes, you're such an amazing person. Just by talking to you, and this is such an incredible story, but I can just tell you are that person that carries everybody all the time, every day. So, I would never think of yourself as not strong. Just you think of yourself less at times, but especially in that situation, because you were just watching this happen, and you and Ryan, you guys just immediately went into action and just did what needed to be done.
I'm very much getting the that you're the mom of the base vibes.
I was going to say that. I was like, you can't say that.
Yeah, I mean, you always are the one that you want to make sure that everybody else is doing okay. Everybody else is having a good day. That they're
I baked cookies for the base yesterday. You can't say that.
It's things like that. Like, you're always thinking of what you can do for them.
Yeah.
And when you are forced to actually stop and think about what you can do for you, or you're faced with somebody else asking what they can do for you, you're almost at a loss, not because you reject what they're, trying to help you with, but you don't know what you need because you haven't had that self-reflection and that ability to be like, okay, yeah, I am really stressed right now. I do need to take a minute. I do need someone to do something for me. And it takes a lot for us as caregivers to have that kind of, realization at times. But it's so important. I just I can't imagine myself being in your shoes, but I can very much imagine myself saying, no, I'm fine. I have things to do. And so I can 100% relate to what you were feeling after that fact.
Yeah. Get off me. I have stuff to do.
I have patients to take care of.
I know, right?
Yeah. And even if it is family members, I mean, I can certainly relate to a recent experience with, my father was in the hospital, a year ago, and there were things that needed to be done. And I was supposed to be the grieving family member at the time, but all I was focused on was what drips he was on, what his vent settings were, where all of this stuff was going, because that's what I needed to do to process where I was at in that moment. And it certainly sounds like that's a lot of what, you were doing in those moments, is you were focused on what the task at hand was. And I'll think about everything else later. I'll push it under the rug for right now.
Right. Yeah. What an amazing, just how you've been able to present this and how you've been able to come through it, I think is truly amazing, Danica. So the dust settling, proverbially saying, so after those hours and days, and even into a couple of weeks, can you kind of tell us about what were the emotions, or how were you guys for yourself and your base, how were you guys moving forward, from that point? This incident happened. Our coworkers, they're going to be okay. Definitely some injuries, but definitely some things that they're on the road to recovery. So what was that recovery for you and your coworkers at the base moving forward for those first few days and then the couple of weeks? What was that like, if you could tell us?
Thank you to our sponsor, Spectrum Aeromed. Spectrum Aeromed is your trusted partner in aeromedical solutions. Experience safety and innovation with their customized interiors, designed for both rotor and fixed-wing aircraft. Elevate your patient care with Spectrum Aeromed. For more information, visit spectrum-aeromed.com.
Everyone kind of has their own individual perspective. Everyone's on their own journey with it. We were all kind of in different places at the time.
Yes.
And because we were all in different places, mentally, even physically, we're all in different locations. Everyone kind of has their own grieving process to go through.
Yep.
And their own responsibility and piece of the puzzle that they feel they brought to that. And they all have each kind of worked through that in their own time, in their own way. As a whole, I feel like it's really brought us a lot closer together as a base. We have really done quite a good job of recognizing those triggers and those emotions in each other, being like, hey, I know you. What's up? Tell me what's going on. Or it's not a good time to talk. I'm here if you need it. I'm here later. Totally fine too. As for me personally, the first 2 to 3 days were really hard, at least physically.
Yeah.
I really didn't eat or sleep for about 2 to 3 days, just coming off that adrenaline rush, everything.
Absolutely.
It was really rough for that 2 to 3 days. And then the first 2 weeks, it really didn't feel real. Really had this surreal quality to it. That couldn't happen. That's
Right.
not real. That didn't happen.
I'm gonna wake up from this nightmare, and it's all gonna.
Right.
That's all it's gonna be. It's just a nightmare. I'm gonna wake up, and everything's gonna be fine.
Exactly. It was so eerie going back to the base because our hangar's connected to our crew quarters. And they would have us go there just to like tie up loose ends or receive packages or just odd admin kind of stuff. And we'd go to the hangar and the hangar would be empty.
No aircraft.
And we were out at the whole ARCH program, the whole, I think there's 8 bases in the ARCH program, and they were all stood on a safety stand down for 3 days.
Right.
Our base was on a safety stand down for 6 weeks. And for 6 weeks, there was no one at the base. So there was times we'd go into the base to do like an admin paperwork type deal. And we'd go into the base and all the lights were off and the hangar was empty. And you don't think about that. Those are things you don't think about because there's always someone at the base.
Right.
There's always someone there. There's a mechanic or a pilot or someone there
doing the daily stuff.
Yeah. To go into your home, your base, and to see the pad and the hangar empty with the lights off was hard. It was really hard.
Yeah. And it's like those, we talk about like triggers a lot and those things that like, you can anticipate that like certain things are probably going to be difficult for you, but it's those like little things that you're like, I'm just going to the base, like I don't feel like this should affect me. And those are sometimes the things that kind of catch you so off guard and throw you for a loop. And it really just like, it's that emptiness feeling at that point in time. And like, it just, yeah, I 100% would feel the same way in your shoes. It's eerie. Like, it's just not right. Something is off.
Danica, you said something that just resonated with me a few moments ago. And you said everybody had their grief, and going through that. And I think it's important. Like we always, there's certain ways that people can refer to grief as like a loss of life, but that we know that it has many different affects, right? And it's not everybody made it out and survived, but there's so much more to just it. I think that a lot of times we really need to start like making sure that we all understand that grief is in very different forms. And like you said, like it might not have been a loss of life, but it was definitely a loss of like that routine, right? Of the day-to-day, how everybody shows up and does that. And I think sometimes that often gets overlooked. And I don't mean that in any bad way, but I think, like we do our best to try to be like, okay, well, let's look at the silver lining and like, let's look at but I think that if we truly acknowledge that it's still grief and deal with that in the appropriate ways, we can all, especially in this industry, recognize that, understand, and move and process that appropriately. I think that can really help us go a long way to come out better on the other side. Like it doesn't just mean a loss of life, but there's a loss of many things. Like you said, the aircraft very much loved the BK, right? Mm-hmm. The BK shuffle, taking
the short metal shimmy,
the washing machine effect, looking out the back of
man. But like just that interruption of the daily thing, like you said, you go there and like the hangar lights are out. There's no aircraft in there. Well, there is definitely a loss, and especially like your brain still processes things as a loss, right? It doesn't have to be life, but whatever that interruption is, your brain and your feelings still will hit almost in that same way. So I think it's really great that you were able to highlight that aspect and be honest with that and show how you guys are handling that and moving forward. I think that's so important.
I think you're completely right. And it's okay to be sad and it's okay to have big feelings, and whatever that looks like for the person feeling them is very valid. And there's a difference between experiencing grief and healing through that grief and just sitting there helpless. Grief has a purpose. Grief has a point. It's to heal and kind of move forward. It's okay to be sad, and it's okay to just be sad for a little bit. Mm-hmm. That's a purpose, just to feel that feeling. That's completely valid.
And human.
Absolutely. It's okay just to sit there and say, this sucks. This sucks a big fat one, a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But we kind of came together as a group, and myself especially, of we're not going to stay in this grief. It's okay to feel this, and it's okay to feel it a lot really hard, but we're not going to stay here. At some point, we're going to pick each other up and put our big girl pants on and tie our shoes and get back in it.
Yep. 100%. It's okay to take a rest stop, but just don't park there. Don't get comfortable. Yeah. And I love to hear that, you guys as a crew really came together and recognize that even though everybody's going through these emotions and these feelings at different times and in different places and in different ways because of, external family life and the process of getting back into it again. But the fact that you guys, everybody had each other's back. Everybody was understanding and accepting of the fact that everybody's going through this process and in different places at different times, and that all of those are okay and perfectly normal for that particular time. And that you can respect each other enough and love each other enough to have that understanding as a crew and as a family is absolutely phenomenal. It shows the solidarity and the closeness that you and your team have together. And I'm sure that support was well beyond just your immediate base. I'm sure that was throughout the entire Arch family. And that in and of itself is also a beautiful thing to see. It really is. And as you guys are coming together as a team and as a crew and as a base, what is that like as you guys start to take those steps and put one foot in front of the other again and start to move forward? One
of the biggest steps was getting a new aircraft and having to stock it. Yeah. I kept saying things like, well, I have 6 IV pumps. I have a stretcher. I have all this. And at some point, a very kind, well-meaning flight nurse said, well, you had it. It's burnt now. I was like, well, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
But going through every time it's like that jabbing of the knife, right? Yeah.
You're not wrong. Actually, you're not wrong. And I did have that. Right. It is burnt. Yep. No, my Lucas is melted. My IV pumps are in the dumpster. Thank you for that.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow. But no, one of the big, really impactful first steps that we had was getting an aircraft back at the base. It was a different airframe, technically, going from a BK to 145. Similar, but still a little different. And then having to reorder and restock all the supplies.
Yeah.
It's kind of that first hurdle of you don't know what all you had until you have to go back and order every single item.
Wow, right?
Painful.
All the little things you just kind of take for granted, and you're like, oh, I've just always have these in my stock room. They're always there for a reason. And
every carabiner, every twist tie, every IV tubing. Yes. Every nasal cannula. Yep. Ugh. That was a big project for sure.
Oh. And then, obviously that's the little things, but I'm hoping that as, you were taking those baby steps, that when you guys started doing some of those larger steps, like looking at actually going back into service, that, you were able to really support each other through that process as well. And like, what was that like for you guys?
We did. The company was actually very helpful. They sent out a first responder specialty trained psychiatrist to actually give us some kind of like coping tools to work through the symptoms of getting back into flight, and kind of recognize and talk through some triggers that we may have, which was very, very helpful. They also offered us comfort or competency flights, just to help us get back in the air.
It's phenomenal. Yeah.
It was very, very helpful. I went back to my first base. I was at Rolla with a very well-known, trusted pilot who's a good friend of mine. And at this point, it had probably been like 4 weeks since the accident, a good month. In my helicopter that I grew up in, a little 407 with a pilot, dear friend of mine, trust implicitly. And we went up for a ride just to go from the base to the hangar, maybe a little 7-minute hop. And I freaked out unexpectedly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was like, it's been a month. I've processed my feelings. I feel better. I can do this. I'm super duper ready. And I got in the back seat, put my helmet on, and I heard the throttles go from idle to fly and just tears. Again, I'm a crier. I admit it. fully own up to that one. But as soon as I heard those engines rev, just waterworks everywhere. And he was phenomenal. He talked me through it. We took it by baby steps. It took me about 4 flights, 4 days of flying to get comfortable with 2 of my triggers, which I still struggle with, but I have some really good coping skills. And those are hearing the throttles go from idle to fly. And then obviously being around trees kind of still freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah.
How could it not?
Right. The trees were more expected, but hearing the engines rev up to fly still get me a little bit. And very unexpected, but we took it. He was fantastic. We took it step by step and baby steps, and I never felt pushed or pressured in any way. Very much at my own pace. But it did take several comfort flights and then also a 3rd rider shift because I didn't want to be a primary clinician caring for a patient and have that responsibility and have some weird, unexpected emotions come up. So I did do, I think, 1 or 2 3rd rider shifts at one of our sister arch bases. Again, with clinicians that are good friends, very, very experienced, very well trusted.
Right.
And they took primary care of the patient, and I was just there to observe and make sure like none of the medical equipment triggered me. I could still like provide care if I wanted to a little bit, kind of dabble, but in a much more relaxed, comfortable setting. And I felt like that was very, very helpful.
You said they sent out like first responder type psychiatrists that was able to help you guys out and kind of talk you guys, teach you those coping skills and everything getting back in. Is that correct?
Yeah, they did.
Just curious. I presume, do you still get to have that reach out to that person? Do they still come around to the base for everybody?
They do. So she was phenomenal. Our company has a peer mental health support group type network. And she actually founded and runs that. So she is fully invested in our company. And then she also does all this kind of crisis work. So we have full contact. She's a consistent resource for us. So if at any point we have any like recurrent or latent emotions kind of come up, we always have contact with her.
That's really good to hear. A lot of the reason why I ask is because I mean, this was a pretty significant event, that no doubt, there's no way in 6 weeks that it's like, hey, we're good. We're going to get back to business as normal,
Nope.
And I think it highlights like not only how somebody that's like specially trained in what first responders do and encounter and the things, and then you kind of throw in what we do on this side of it. We're taking aviation and medicine and putting it together. So having somebody that's trained, that kind of understands just that kind of first responder role, not only from the healthcare aspect, but then you kind of throw in the aviation aspect of it too in this type of event. I think it just really highlights what a need that we've all kind of really shined that light on over the past few years for that type of specialty. And to know that your base and your crews are consistently afforded that opportunity, because this is very much in it for the long haul, to continue keeping that moving forward. So, again, I just thank you for sharing that and bringing that up. But I hope that highlights, for any of our listeners or anything, that hopefully that as this industry grows and as we recognize the things that we may have to deal with, I hope that shows how much of an impact that can be for you guys and how that's helped you guys take those right steps forward without feeling guilty or that shame or anything process. I'm just hoping that it highlights that, how important that is. So that way, God forbid any of us has to go through anything similar, but to know that there is a way back there and you can do it successfully, and that someone is able to kind of help and guide you there. So that way you are successful and come back to it with the right way forward. And I hope that's an amazing thing that's being put out there.
I'm so happy to hear all of the support that, your agency was able to get for you guys. And I always like to say, like, in this world of having to care for others all the time and seeing all of the daily traumas that we see
that ride with us for the rest of our lives in this business, that, we need to have someone that we can either rely on or talk to or help work through these problems, whether that be somebody professionally, whether that be a peer, whether that be a coworker. It's not a competition in this, as long as you're able to get the help that you need and to see all the support that you guys were given through that, and the amount of support that you provided for each other. And then I'm sure continues on an absolutely daily basis. Like it warms my heart to hear that, because we've come such a long way in this industry in recognizing that we have trauma too. And I don't know how anyone can go through the experience that you went through and not have some of those triggers and not have some of those, those things that are really just gonna, take you back to that moment. But as you had also said before, part of this process that you're going through is learning what those are, and then having this toolbox ready so that when something like that does happen, you can pull that specific tool out of that toolbox and you can still go about your day. And I think that that's so important. And I love that you kind of, alluded to some of that before, because I think that those are the things, that are really going to resonate. And then I hope that we can bring not just, to this conversation, but to everyone across the industry, so that whether it be something big or small, that you can have that tool that's ready for that job at that point in time and really be able to still focus and keep your head in the game. We kind of talked a little bit about all of these tools, and that kind of builds up to like a bit of a resiliency discussion, right? Like listening to you, you are incredibly resilient. I can't thank you enough for being willing to share this story with us. That takes an immense amount of courage in and of itself. And it's so grateful that you're willing to come on here and talk with us and share that with us and with our listeners, because I do think it's something that is really going to resonate with every single one of us. But when we talk about moving forward with that resiliency, like, how did you kind of find that sense of self again? And how did you really, what was the determining factor? Because I look at it like, at the end of the day, right? A lot of people probably could have gone through the situation that you went through and said, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm out. Like, how did you make that decision? Be like, no, this is what I'm meant to do. This is where I'm meant to be. These are the people that I'm meant to do it with, and I'm going to keep on trucking.
I think it's exactly that. I think it's exactly what you said. This is what I'm meant to do, and these are the people that I'm meant to do it with. I think you said it better than I could. I think a big part of resiliency is not putting all of yourself in one basket. And I see that all the time in first responders as a whole, in flight medicine, in any of the really giving professions. We give all of ourselves to our career, or we lose ourselves in the career. We become workaholics. We pick up a bunch of overtime shifts, because if I'm helping others, I don't have to worry about myself. And I've seen a lot of that in myself as well.
Right in the feels. That's right there. Right there. I've never seen Blake so emotional. This is amazing.
Yes. If I help others, I don't have to help myself. Yes.
It's so true. That's I call it plausible deniability, right? Like if I just go to work all the time, I just don't have to acknowledge the things that, right?
No. Yeah. I see it all the time. All the time I see it. And I see it in myself too. But what I love to do is I look for the glimmers instead of the triggers.
Yeah.
And I can't remember where I heard it. I wish I could give them credit, but I absolutely love it. I look for those little tiny sparkles of joy. I'll always have triggers, and I'm sure everyone will always have triggers that spark that kind of fear or anger or unpleasant emotions that we don't like. But we find what we look for. And I choose to look for the glimmers. I want those little sparkles of happiness in my day.
Absolutely. You deserve them. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. We all do. I want the pilot that is going to help me carry a bag. I want the partner that's going to prime my line for me. I want my dog that gives me snuggles when I come home. I want those little happy sparkles, those little happy glimmers that just make my day a little bit brighter. And they're nothing big. They don't have to be. But we find what we look for. And if I start looking for the glimmers, then my outlook's going to change towards
Sure.
a little bit brighter and a little bit happier.
About reframing how that mind works.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank you to our sponsor, Technisonic Communications. Technisonic Communications is a proud provider of the critical airborne communications equipment utilized every day on every mission. Law enforcement, EMS, forestry, federal and military operators all trust their communications to Technisonic. Visit TIL.ca to learn how Technisonic can support your mission communications.
We also pour a lot of ourselves and a lot of our identity into our work. I struggled with that a lot as a newer nurse of, I'm not Danica, I'm a nurse. Nursing is my whole identity. I'm wrapped up in this. And I see it a lot in newer flight clinicians too, where that's their whole identity and their whole self-worth comes from their career. And that's super cool. It's a super cool job. It can be a little bit of a slippery slope, and it can be a little bit dangerous when your career starts to fall apart around you. When you have an accident, when you have a patient that causes you like a significant like moral injury and you feel like you can't save them. When you have those moments at work that are really, really devastating and really, really hard, and your whole self-worth and your whole identity is wrapped up in that career, it affects you on such a deeper identity level that it can be really hard to come back from. So I really have been a big advocate, especially with my friends at my base, of diversifying your personality profile. Have a really fun hobby that you love. Spend more time with your family. Put your personality eggs in different baskets. So when one collapses, when you have a tragedy in one, you have personality eggs in other places that can get you through. And your whole identity isn't shattered.
I love that. And I think that we all need that reminder on a daily basis too. You know, like we don't often practice what we preach, but I'm so happy to hear those things coming from you, because you do need those things in your life, and you do need those glimmers, and you do need to have those things to look forward to, because that's what keeps us going every single day. And so I appreciate you sharing all that and saying all those things, because it certainly just reiterates what I'm sure most of us out there are not practicing on a daily basis.
No, we are not. Oh man, we're not. You know, you said, you really described do for yourself what you would do for others, you know, not letting your career path like define you. And again, I know this is a very emotional breakthrough into me for you, Mike, to see, but you know, you think about like, so like,
I'm so glad we have this on video too, Blake.
I'm here for it. I'm loving this.
Play it when I retire. Right. But that's just it. Like, so like what happens when we hang up this career, right? So what's on the other side of like that door? Like what's next? What do you do? And if we don't find, like you said, those little bits of happiness in the day-to-day life. I think it's amazing that you made cookies and you brought them to the base. We have a base mom, you know, and she loves to make cookies and bring them in, which I'm so very grateful for. And I know at one point she will stop working. I'm going to be very devastated.
But she'll still bring the cookies.
I hope so. I hope so, because Lord knows I can't bake. So, but you know, I think you hit such a good point aspect of doing those things and making sure you have that this career, it doesn't have to define who you are. It can be a part of you for sure. And obviously we're very tight knit.
Definitely.
And that's obviously easier said than done. But what it can do is really help when you make those, like you said, those different baskets, and you have those different bits of personality in those different baskets. So if one of those baskets gets overturned, you still don't lose who you are. But it, like, let's say the basket of who you are as a provider, right? So when something like this happens, can you describe then, if you don't mind, like how has that affected you, and how have you, does that bring you back to when you were 18 and you're like, there's that older LPN and she did the most amazing thing and helped, and you helped the Alzheimer's patient get ready for school, you know, to go teach. And how has that affected you? Like, how have you been able to kind of refill that basket, I should say, and still keep coming into work and doing your absolute best?
That I refill my basket that overturned with my other baskets.
Fair. Yeah. You
Wow.
got to be able to pick from one to
Exactly.
help fill up the
My
other.
baskets are empty now. I love how far this analogy has gone. I'm here for it. So I have this horrible, devastating accident in one facet of my life. And I use the other facets of my life to support that.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
I have an aircraft crash. And what I do is I turn to the other facets of my life, my family, my pets, my coworkers, even. I volunteer with some kids. I use those other avenues of my life and personality to support that basket that just got overturned.
It's awesome.
As far as my practice as a clinician, I can't say it's changed. I know it's super cliche and super cheesy, but I treat everyone like they were my family.
Absolutely.
Or I treat everyone the way I would want to be treated. I know
it's not cliche. I think if everybody did that, I think we would be
100%
amazing. I feel like it gets a lot of lip service, and it's a really nice thing to say.
It is.
Actually doing it, I think, is really cool.
It's two different things, but when you actually do it and you see it, like you said, you saw that in the very beginning onset, and that's what sticks with you as that provider, and you always strive to be that person.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. I've told myself since day one of nursing, when I stop caring about my patients is the day I need to leave nursing.
Absolutely. No, I love that. And I think that, I know I, personally have learned so much, listening to you through this past hour. And I again, can't thank you enough for coming on and talking with us, but I was curious, like what advice would you have for our listeners or for other crew members out there after being involved with this event? Like, what advice would you have for them from a safety and, I think we've done a lot of talking regarding the mental health aspect of things, which I think is so important, but there's also the safety side of things and the reminders there. And what kind of advice would you have for all of us who haven't been in your shoes?
This really could have happened to anyone. I am incredibly grateful that I was there and was able to act the way that I did. I think if I wasn't, it could have had a very different outcome.
Absolutely.
But really, it was truly an accident. And accidents are accidents. They're not on purposes.
Right.
They're not intentional. We don't see them coming. This really, truly could have happened to anyone at any time. That's really my biggest takeaway is I'm glad it happened the way it did. I think different circumstances could have led to a drastically different result. But I think it really, truly was accidental, and it truly could have happened to anyone at any time, any landing zone. It really could have happened. I had a discussion with Ryan, the off-duty pilot that helped me after, and I told him to the effect of, I would let him fly me blindfolded into a hurricane. Mm-hmm. Like, that's how implicitly I trust my pilots. Of, I will cover up my eyes. I won't even look what you're doing. I just trust you. Blind, implicit trust, which is beautiful in a sense.
Yeah.
I love that I trust him that much. That means I assume he's a good pilot. I hope. But it kind of led this conversation of, well, why are we flying into a hurricane? What's in that hurricane that we need to go mess around in? And also, why am I blindfolded? Why I should probably be checking you. There's probably some safety checks we should be doing on each other. Why are we doing this? It's cool that I trust my pilots. I love my pilots. I do trust them. I wholeheartedly believe I'm biased, but I believe they're the best pilots ever. But that's not enough. It's okay to trust, but verify. Yeah. Trust your pilots, believe in them, love them, still verify what they're doing. Ask that question, why are we flying into that hurricane, before you let them blindfold you.
And I think that any pilot that is obviously they're worth their weight in gold is going to ask that very thing that he did. Why are we going into this hurricane, and why are we blindfolded? but they're going to want you to question them. Just like, you would say the same thing to your partner. Hey, if you see me doing something that maybe I shouldn't, just say, hey, why are you starting that IV there? Or, whatever the case may be. It's because we have that trust in them that, in that personal, like they're going to hold you accountable for that. And it's nothing more than just making sure we are all our absolute best. And I guarantee you, your pilots trust you just as much the same to take care of them. If they were in a time of need, they would 100% say, Danica, I trust you with my life. I would let you take care of me any day.
It's got to go back and forth, right? And always just make sure that you're, staying vigilant out there, and, always making sure that you're doing the safety walkarounds and asking the questions and being involved with all of the processes. Like I know we we get sick and tired of hearing that stuff at safety stand downs and CRMs every year. And it's like, okay, I get this already, but no, but you need to make sure that you're following through on all those things. And like you said, trust but verify. And I think that this, until you've worked in this job and understand what we do on a daily basis, some of these things just, you talk to the general public about what we do, and it's like, it just seems like it's surreal to them. Like they can't understand. And there's so much that goes into a flight. And the people are always like, well, you only did 2 flights. Like, well, how can you be tired? How can you be exhausted? And it's like, it's because of all these other little things, like making sure that, you and your partners and your patients are all going home safe at the end of the day, and all of the things that go into that, and making sure that you have that good relationship with everybody. I just think it's, until you're in it to win it, so to speak, like you truly don't understand those aspects of things. But you gotta trust and verify. And I appreciate you sharing that kind of advice with all of us as that little reminder.
I'm only chuckling, Mike, because you said oh, you only did 2 flights, It's not only the mental, but I think of the physical. And I've said this before, okay, listen, you fly around in an aircraft that's 100 degrees in the middle of the summer wearing a onesie that doesn't breathe, know, and then a helmet, and then the fatigue and the vibration, and then the mental of, oh, I need to make sure I'm doing everything right and I don't hurt anybody. And we all go home. I'm just, it's so much more than just you had 1 flight or 2 flights.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so much more.
Well, Danica, this has been an absolutely amazing discussion. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing the story of bravery and courage, and also a story of personal, recovery and your journey along the way. So incredibly grateful for that. Your actions in that moment absolutely saved 3 lives that night. And we are so grateful that you were able to be there for them and to share that. I can't imagine putting myself in your shoes, but it's something that I'm so incredibly grateful that you're willing to share with us, so that we can all learn from the experiences that you went through. I did have one last question for you though. Before we started this conversation and talking through MHM and Vertical Magazine, had you really heard of them much before?
Not particularly, no.
Okay. So this year is the first year that Vertical Magazine is making a recognition program out there for rotorcraft first responders. I just wanted to read you something here quick. MHM Publishing, which produces Vertical and Vertical Valor magazines, is proud to announce the launch of a new global recognition program, the Blades of Valor Recognition of Service, Courage, and Flight. This initiative will honor 20 individuals working in public safety aviation or helicopter emergency medical services who have demonstrated outstanding courage, innovation, leadership, and dedication in their roles. Nominees may work in any capacity within the HEM sector for public safety aviation, from airborne law enforcement and firefighting to SAR, maintenance, and flight coordination. They'll be selected based on their impact, professionalism, and meaningful contributions to their organizations or communities. With that being said, we heard a little story about you.
Oh, did you?
We did. And if I might, you were nominated. So I'm going to read what one of your coworkers submitted. Can I say that, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I just want to make sure. Okay. So why nominate Danica. She has a fantastic work ethic and clinical ability. As a former peds nurse, I watched her grow into a wonderful flight clinician. Her outlook and attitude are far beyond her age, 25 at the time she started.
I'm not 25 anymore.
Hey, no one needs to know. And that was their why. So, and here is what they wrote. So for the mission story that was provided. On April 24th, 2025, Danica was teaching a landing zone class at a small volunteer fire department. The on-duty crew flew the aircraft in, and after allowing the firefighters to look over the ship, it was set to depart. Upon takeoff, the tail rotor struck a tree branch and subsequently crashed. Without hesitation, Danica ran to the aid of the crew, one of whom was trapped. Without her intervention, they would have undoubtedly succumbed to the post-crash fire. She pulled her teammate to safety and began doing what she instinctively knew, assessing and treating the 3 occupants the best that she could. She was the only trained clinician on scene until EMS arrived, and I know without a doubt she saved lives that night. I had the pleasure to give her a confidence flight about a month after the accident, and her bravery was absolutely amazing. She faced the fear that had been built from the event, and we flew multiple approaches. With each one, I could hear the fear leaving and her confidence return. I am inspired by this young peds nurse turned true first responder.
So, Danica, with that being said, on behalf of the Valor Flight Crew podcast and MHM Publishing, we would like to congratulate you on being a recipient of the Blades of Valor Recognition Award. Congratulations.
Thank you. I am humbled and truly grateful. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, we are so grateful that you were able to be present for all of this and to share your story with us. This has been an absolutely phenomenal discussion, and you are truly someone who has acted in valor and is someone who is absolutely brave and courageous, exactly as they had mentioned in the nomination. So, thank you for being you.
Yes, absolutely. Danica, I think it's nothing short of amazing, this story. I'll echo exactly what Mike said. Thank you for sharing with us and to all the listeners that are out there. I will wholeheartedly say, if our industry can continue to have people like you doing this job day in and day out, this job is always nothing short of amazing. And it's because of people like you that come into work and do this every day and treat everybody like they're your family. And I can't thank you enough for sharing this with us. So thank you.
Thank you. You're going to get me all emotional too, Blake.
You said you're a crier. So.
I know. It's victorious. It gets bad. No, that is
okay.
So incredibly kind. Thank you. That means a lot.
Oh, you deserve it.
Very much so. Thank you again, Danica. This has been an absolute honor to speak with you today. Also want to send a huge shout out to our listeners for their continued support of the Vertical Helicast platform and the Valor Flight Crew podcast. Thanks again, everyone. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Valor Flight Crew podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more stories that promote the personnel and equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation. Lastly, stand by for a message from our sponsors.
Thank you to our sponsor, Technisonic Communications. Technisonic Communications is a proud provider of the critical airborne communications equipment utilized every day on every mission. Law enforcement, EMS, forestry, federal and military operators all trust their communications to Technisonic. Visit TIL.ca to learn how Technisonic can support your mission communications.
Thank you to our sponsor, Spectrum AeroMed. Spectrum AeroMed is your trusted partner in air medical solutions. Experience safety and innovation with their customized interiors, designed for both rotor and fixed-wing aircraft. Elevate your patient care with Spectrum AeroMed. For more information, visit spectrum-aeromed.com.
Thank you to our sponsor, Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory globally, 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
Thank you for joining us for this powerful episode of the Valor Flight Crew podcast. Danica's story reminds us that while the skies can test us in unimaginable ways, it's the strength of the human spirit that truly carries us through the storm. Her journey of healing, resilience, and the much-deserved recognition with the Blades of Valor Award is a testament to what it means to live with courage and purpose. On behalf of Echo, Vertical Helicasts, and Vertical Valor Magazine, we want to thank you for listening and for honoring the voices of those who serve with unwavering dedication. Until next time, stay safe, trust but verify, and remember, Valor lives not just in the missions we fly, but in the hearts that endure.